long time, and he can kind of play that more supportive role and be very successful. Sometimes that's what you need from your jungler. You shouldn't be the star every game. You should be able to play the supportive style. You should be able to play the aggressive style, depending on the meta, depending on the team composition, and depending on what makes sense within the context of the game.
Well, we'll see what happens here in Champ Select. AechoFox making a lot of changes on the personnel side here for this game. We'll see if Champ Select also alters up. Looks like Aurelion Sol and Zac banned on blue side. That's usually not how that goes. Talon and Cho'Gath joining in for CLG, so very similar bans already.
I mean, the Zac ban on blue side makes sense if you think that the other tank junglers are now higher priority, which is kind of what most people are saying. They're saying, well, I'm going to get Maokai. What are you going to get, right? And if that is kind of the next pick after that, you can ban this out, and you either then force your opponent to also ban Maokai here, or you can kind of have that free first pick. But it may be a trade that CLG is willing to make, especially when things like Caitlyn are still on the table. But they're going to ban away the Caitlyn. Okay.
All right, Darshan Caitlyn actually the last ban, so 2 bot side ones as Elise is snapped off instantly by AechoFox. So a big change of tactics here for this game.
Yeah, definitely so. And now I think CLG certainly can pick up the Maokai if they want to go that route. I guess they were a lot more worried about Caitlyn first pick. It's interesting because the Caitlyn nerfs actually are very big as far as the late game DPS goes. But that being said, people don't really seem to care because its lane is still so strong, its sieging is still so strong, and if you're playing from ahead, well, it doesn't really matter.
And there's Maokai as expected, and Jhin joining in with Elise already being shown. I think this is kind of a scenario that you were just talking about, actually, in the clip we had from the dive, where you don't want to just lock Jhin in when there could be tanks everywhere coming out of every role, but in this situation, you kind of already see a squishy jungler.
Yeah, you see a squishy jungler. There still could be a tank top lane, plus, well, we see a tank support, so that's something you have to be worried about. And I think Jhin blind is fine as long as you are willing to play someone in the mid lane who can deal with tanks. Right? If you're going to play like Taliyah or you're going to play LeBlanc or something like that, then it's
like that.
Those, well, you know, those don't really work that well into tanks, right? You need to be playing someone who is a very high DPS mid laner, someone who kills tanks, Malzahar, Cassio, even like Vel'Koz, like these sorts of picks that can actually burn through a tank is what is required in combination with a Jhin if your opponents are going to go for that.
Well, there's Tahm, Kench, and Corki for AechoFox, and Bard actually as a support pick there for CLG. Maybe rising a lot more in priority. You kind of think of Thresh, Bard, and Blitzcrank as those big playmaking supports that a lot of these players do prefer, but we'll move down for CLG as they ban Jace away, actually, from Looper, I presume, at this point.
And support is actually seeming very diverse now because we still do see the playmakers, but now we're also seeing some of the kind of more defensive supports, like we've seen Janna come out, we've seen Sona come out, we've seen Soraka, you know, those sorts of things. We still see tank supports like Braum and Tahm Kench, so it really does seem like it's a kind of just take your pick type thing for support right now, which is pretty interesting as you get very different picks from team to team.
Well, LeBlanc banned by AechoFox, CLG with Lucian taken away, so a lot of those strong solo lane picks being taken. Maybe a slight indication that they're thinking they could flex that Corki, but I think both those champions are also very viable top lane, and Looper maybe looking to play something aggressive. Jax banned again by AechoFox, so keeping that out of the hands of Darshan.
Yeah, I mean, Darshan may just be playing it a lot in solo queue, a lot in scrims, and something that we don't really have all that much insight into. Jax certainly can be a strong pick for him, and I think he has been able to show that. It's a pretty good effectiveness.
I think he's also played it already this split, if I do recall, and certainly a champion he is known for.
Yeah, he's definitely played it a couple times this split. Did pretty well on it. We've seen it in the LCK some. Before SKT kind of started slumping, we saw Huhi play on it a couple times to varied success. So certainly is possible, and Taliyah is going to be the pick. So you'd have to be a little bit concerned, I think, about how you're going to deal with tanks if multiple tanks got locked in here, but may not be the option. And in general, it doesn't look like it's going to be a big concern for them because really there can only be one like true tank, even if Looper goes for it.
Yep, Taliyah is back as Varus locked in there for AechoFox. Go down into the hands of Keith, and Gnar still open actually. I haven't seen him all series long. It's only been one game, but almost forgot about him given the lack of priority last game.
And this could be top lane Maokai, and it's going to be top lane Maokai. So this is something that you can flex around, and Maokai's actually a pretty good matchup into the Gnar because you can simply jump on this guy as he goes mini, and you can actually mess him up pretty well in trades. That being said, it's a matchup that you have to play aggressively in Gnar, which is pretty much every matchup. To actually beat Gnar, you always have to fight into him, whereas he can play very passively, he can just chunk you out, push you in, and that is why Gnar is such a strong laner, because if your jungler is kind of not there in your back pocket, it can be pretty tough. And Dardoch going back to the Rengar, something that we haven't really seen much of at all lately. This is a pick that I think has kind of fallen to the way. Side. Although with lethality, it can be quite powerful, and there certainly is that one-shot potential.
Dardoch has had quite the highlight reel of Rengar games in his career, so we'll see if he's looking for something here. I do like the flexibility CLG are willing to show with the Maokai. Certainly if you're going to play at jungle, you want to be able to flex at top as well. So kind of matching Akaadian there. See if these junglers can get off to an early start, but I think pretty stable team comes on both sides. Looper, no Singed unfortunately for us, but Gnar's kind of one of, if not the best top lane pick right now. So nice to see the team back in, but playing very stable stuff.
Yeah, definitely so. I think that this is a game that Darshan can have some extremely efficient itemization against, though. Auto attackers galore, really across the board here. So, I mean, things like a Frozen Heart, a Bramble Vest, Ninja Tab Eyes are all extremely effective. So, looking to see him go for those sorts of items very early on. We'll see if he does elect to do that.
I always forget about Bramble Vest.
It's so good. Like, there's not a lot of tanks top lane that are actually any good, and that's, I think, partly why we're not seeing it as much, because in jungle it doesn't make quite as much sense. But things like Cho'Gath and Maokai actually can be top lane tanks that are quite effective. And when you are laning against auto attack heavy teams and auto attack heavy laners, I think that Bramble Vest can be super, super efficient. Like, you can go Tabbies and a Bramble Vest as your first items against someone like a Gnar, and it can be actually super efficient. But there's always the worry of then getting preyed on by this Elise, who obviously you're going to want some health in MR for. Well,
aggressive level 1 for CLG, but don't find anyone to pick off. Stixxay just going to dance in front as Looper gets a nice deep ward down towards the Raptor pit. He's going to get collapsed on here, though. The Sapling is going to chase him down. Looper going to be forced to flash here. Hops over the wall instead, so skills up hop, but Huhi still running around as Darshan also trying to cut him off.
I think he's dead.
Yeah, Looper's just kind of trapped into the pit right now. Going to try and fight his way out, but I don't think he's going to get there. Probably holds onto the flash at this point, but someone's going to come out and there's first blood for Huhi.
Oh, that's a brutal start for Looper. And he actually had to skill his jump level 1, so usually you're actually going to get that at level 3. Like in a lot of these lane matchups, so his lane is going to be set back. He's actually dead at a pretty late time. He should be able to get the lane okay, but certainly can't leash, and it's going to mean double Doran's ring start for Huhi.
Yep, actually already goes back, able to run back to the lane nice and quickly as a small leash there for Darshan, actually putting some saplings down on both the Raptor Brush and the Red Bush. Akaadian here getting help. Looks like a super leash maybe being lined up here for him, as the bot lane might be rotating down to that red. Looks like that is the case here for Elise, so should see a lot of aggression.
And we talked about it last game, the Doran's ring start for Stixxay, right? So on the Jhin, it's about just getting these last hits, being able to kind of keep that mana up and just lane with the additional spells that you are going to be able to kind of throw out there. So that's pretty interesting. He is going to be going with MR blues, though, not going AP blues or anything like that, so more of a defensive option. And I think that makes a lot of sense, especially against Elise and Corki, who can burst you out pretty heavily. If you're not going to build any MR normally in your build early on, then having at least a bit of that from your runes is pretty powerful.
Yep. We'll see where Akaadian does go, though. The Scuttle Crab right now should be level 3 as this is done and does ding it, but Dardoch up to that top side, able to sneak in with not too much health, but knows that Loop is pretty vulnerable right now.
It's a pretty hard gank to make happen. I think it's more looking for a counter gank, but Key taking a lot of damage down there.
That was a great CC chain there from CLG's dual end as Dardoch leaps in onto Looper. Not going to tie him up, that level 1E helping him out there, but going to have to TP back to lane like his Akaadian does dip down to the bottom side, but he's also CC'd up.
Yeah, and I mean, the wave is actually in a really bad spot for Looper, so he has to immediately TP back. This is actually the level 1 first blood, so quite a while ago, but this was the kill over on Looper. He skilled up the jump, but CLG just did a good job corralling him, kind of moving to all sides, so where are you going to go, right? Like, even if you flash out, you're dead here, so he makes, I think, the smart choice and just kind of gives up his life. May as well just take that, and Huhi able to grab first blood was definitely a nice start there for CLG.
Yep, kind of the only other optimization maybe is like giving the kill to someone else, but that's really hard to orchestrate. It looks like continued aggression here for Fox. I think they stole the blue buff actually. CLG not able to collapse in time.
I mean, Dardoch didn't take his blue and gank top, so that's something that you should be able to actually punish, and they do take away that blue buff. But as I was saying before we went into that replay, Looper had the lane in a tough spot, which means he has to immediately TP back, or it was actually going to be frozen on him. That being said, Darshan then, I think, maybe tried to hold the wave too much, group too many minions, so when it actually got shoved in by Looper, he gets chunked out very heavily, and he really didn't pick up a farm advantage off that at all because he wasn't able to CS much of that mini wave whatsoever.
Yeah, and you can see Darshan now going to be forced to TP back. Looper actually harassing very well in that 1v1. Darshan's going to TP back and keep that CS even. But for all the trouble that Looper suffered at level 1, doing okay right now in the 1v1. I think maybe mid lane is where the advantage could bleed out, but Froggen, despite his opponent having a early second Dorans, is keeping that farm nice and even, which is kind of what Corki wants in every single lane.
Yeah, Darshan kind of overusing the corrupting potion, honestly. He popped 2 charges immediately when we got back to lane, so that buy is almost like null and void, right? He just went back, and his first buy didn't really get him much of anything. Like, that's gone within a couple seconds pretty much of him getting to lane, so that is kind of a pretty high cost to that early trade. And you have to be careful about when you are going for the trades. You want to keep your mana up so you can continually go for them, but if you go too far, you can take too much damage on the return.
Looper a little low on health, but should be just fine here. Does wall up Darshan in the wave and get some damage back down. Crunch actually does a nice chunk of damage to a tank. Akaadian is in the area, but I think they spotted Dardoch on his Raptors earlier, so Dardoch farming away right now. Good vision there from Fox, as you can see that ward just over the side, but gonna kind of back off there for Looper. Looks like just take a recall.
And it can definitely be tough to actually fight into the Mega Gnar on Maokai. It's really about trading when he's not in Mega. Right when he comes out of Mega, you try to jump into him. And like one of the tricks that you can kind of do that I don't see a lot of pro players actually playing around in the top lane is, so your Q is essentially a knockback, right? The saplings do massively more damage if you have them in the brush, so you should be trying to throw a sapling into the brush and punch your opponent towards that to actually trigger the sapling. If you can pull that off, it's something that really increases the damage from your trade. One of those saplings hitting can be pretty devastating for a laning phase.
Yep. I think one of those things where Maokai did receive so many changes, despite feeling relatively similar as the champion, that players now, with him finally getting some play in pro, kind of learning a lot of those intricacies, especially if you have to flex the champion. Maybe you can think you'll play that maybe less than half of the time you would if it was a main role champ as CLG with a nice little play. And
it's one of those things where, honestly, I feel like very few of the top laners will have been practicing Maokai because, like, well, I've played 1,000 games of Maokai in my life. He's a simple champion. I don't need to practice it. But little things like that can make a pretty big difference. Obviously, not in all cases. I mean, in this case, Looper's playing on the bottom side of the lane anyway, so you wouldn't be able to do anything with that regardless. But there are little kind of tricks that can be pretty effective, and little combos that you don't see people actually always utilizing that well because they're not that experienced, I think, on the champion. And that's something that I think we'll see kind of change over time. There's things where you can kind of even like almost like alley-oop yourself with the ultimate, where you throw out the ultimate very early and then you're able to flash forward, root them, and then punch them. And if you can get these max range ultimates that you CC them so they can't move until it arrives, it lasts so much longer. Because at point blank, it's like 0.4 seconds. At max range, it's 2.4 seconds or around that. So if you can actually set yourself up for that, it's pretty powerful.
I mean, I'm here for all these optimizations personally, so enjoying the tips and tricks. Darshan trying to trade, but Looper being very elusive with double Doran's Blade, actually really trying to leverage an early lane advantage. Froggen level 7, so able to fire some missiles out and help wave clear, but early buys have come from the mid lane, and it's just been a farm fest so far. And
he has to actually be pretty careful. Like, you know, it's not just about bowling lane, it's about surviving, getting that early extra HP and stuff, because Maokai can mess up a Gnar. As long as you don't run out of mana, you can keep jumping forward and going on these attacks. And I think that's why it's a pretty smart build from Darshan as far as going for the Doran's Ring and grabbing this Corrupting Potion, because that gives him actually a lot of mana. You can spend that out, then base up and look to make these plays. But Aphromoo and Dardoch up here on the top side. Elise is here as well, though. This could get turned around.
Already going, but Darshan has the ultimate rip, does root up too. Dardoch pops the ultimate, but Akaadian, great counter gank there, just making sure no dive happens.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty expensive gank there from Dardoch, because, I mean, popping the ultimate, that rank 1 ultimate is actually quite a long cooldown there for him. You know, over 2 minutes, and he has no CDR actually purchased yet, so it's pretty nice pathing from Akaadian. Shut that down with no real problems.
Yep. Darshan also used his ult, so that setup won't be there for a while. Aphromoo didn't lose too much on the bot side. Stixxay able to return and play safe, because it looks like both supports are roaming, but certainly a lot invested and no return there for CLG. So they'll hold their lead here in 8.5 minutes, about 1,000 gold ahead, but certainly not snowballing nearly as out of control as game number 1.
No, certainly not. But at the same time, you know, Akaadian is playing kind of what I would call the more early game jungler, and he has not really gotten anything done either. Besides, he did have a nice counter gank there, but he's a Moby Boots Elise, and we're at 9 minutes, and he has not really ganked yet, right? And that's not a situation you want to be in. You do not want to be Moby Boots Elise, just kind of farming around the map. You want to be moving around, ganking, putting on pressure nonstop. Oh my god.
Oh, Stixxay.
So well timed. That was pretty sick, but
do they even have vision there?
They had a ward, on the entrance, so they knew they were doing it, but I think the timing was just a total guess.
Well, good guess from Stixxay. Gets himself a blue buff. He's going to feel great there as Jhin in the bot lane. Denies it from Froggen, who did have the package and was looking to make some sort of roam into the jungle. Gnar from Looper. Going to move Darshan into the wall, but Huhi's here for a surprise. Knocks him back into it, but the minefield not there. Damage, so might still be enough as Looper forced to flash Darshan. Immunes himself under the turret. Now Huhi's going to finish the job.
Nice dive there. A little bit out of sorts from CLG, but they do pull it off. And getting the kill onto Looper, they get the flash from him as well. Just cost the one flash there from Darshan, so really good roam up by Huhi, and getting Darshan ahead on this Maokai is going to be really big.
Yeah, already has a pretty good CS lead, so Looper going to lose a ton more to the turret before he's able to TP there. Echo Fox with 3 people in this brush here, with Froggen also roaming down. So some 4-man play being developed, but CLG now going to spot them all. Dardoch flashes out from under Akaadian's cocoon. Ulti though, he's going to hit onto Aphromoo, but now Stixxay going to counter kill. Great ulti there from Bard. Going to tie them all up, waits out the duration, and Stixxay puts a few more bullets in, and now Darshan's TPing with the ultimate ticking away. Looper here, but a huge 4-man stun gets everybody else as Darshan leaps in, and Keith just explodes. Looper going to go down next. There's the third killers. Aphro able to get the kill in onto the Gnar. Dardoch slays Gate. Rappel goes down, and Akaadian goes down also.
It's a massacre in the bot lane as CLG get everyone. Darshan, so much faster on that TP, gets all 4 with his ultimate, and that was that. I mean, this game is almost like done. This is 11 minutes in. They're going to be up almost 6,000 gold and get a they're gonna get the turret and the dragon. Like, this is insane. 5,000 gold to lead.
Yep, first turret pushes that gold up to lead up to 5K. As let's watch this again.
Yeah, and Darshan's so much faster, and this is a mini Gnar TPing in. I mean, the TP is already completed as Looper starts his TP. And look at this ult from Darshan. He knows that's the only way they can get out. Corrals all 4 in. Locks up the AD carry. Keith gets knocked in, easily cleaned up, and the AoE coming in from Dardoch there, just crushing them. And remember, Akaadian spent his flash to try to catch out Dardoch in the jungle, so no way out for him either. And that is just brutal. Poor Echo Fox.
He's going to casually solo the Ocean Drake, giving CLG another advantage there. And now the standard roam to the top side as Stixxay has a Dustblade finished.
Yeah, he has a Dustblade finished. I mean, look at the amount of damage coming out from these guys in the team fight. Just able to kind of group them up and crush them down. CLG have got to be feeling so good about that early play. They were already winning across the map, and now Echo Fox are just in a dire position. They're going to have to slow down this game so much to really be able to get anything done. And even then, you're going to be facing, kind of outscaling, I'd say, probably in the top lane and the jungle, and it's really rough.
I think CLG have demonstrated this consistently, but even as early as last game, that they're a team that when they get an advantage, they know exactly what to do as far as Snowball goes. This should be very straightforward for them.
And I mean, one of the biggest problems is not even just the gold, it's the experience. Look across the board. Level up in top lane, 2 levels up in the jungle. Even in the mid lane, 2 levels up on both AD carry and support in the bot lane. Like, that is an insane advantage in experience that isn't even shown in the gold lead. So not only are they ridiculously behind as far as the itemization goes, the actually base stats on the characters are so much lower as well. And Froggen maybe getting caught out, but looks like he will get away. This is going to be another turret, though. This is 3 turrets so quickly for CLG.
Stixxay already took the top outer. CLG working on the mid here, and they should break this line very swiftly. Dardoch and Stixxay still lining up a potential dive. Froggen cannot play too aggressive here, which means he can't clear waves. Turret goes down, and CLG continuing to grow that gold lead.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? There's no real answer there for Froggen. At least Echo Fox able to trade back a turret on the bot side, but not able to farm all the lanes, and thus going to kind of fall more behind in that experience. So we'll see what happens here for them. It really is going to come down to can Echo Fox, find either a miracle pick or or slow down the game to a point where Looper can maybe take over in a side lane or something. Like, you're really kind of stretching to find a way that Echo Fox now gets back in this game and has a chance at winning it, because CLG has such an explosive lead and such a powerful composition.
Well, I think it's time to talk about exactly how far ahead CLG are. I mean, we can see the total gold lead, but looks like Huhi going to go back and spend some money. Stixxay already has his Zeal, so building in towards what I assume is a rapid fire cannon to kind of complement that Duskblade. And as far as their next play goes, I mean, there's not a Drake to take for a little while, but Rift Herald's very much still available and should be more than open to CLG. Yeah,
so CLG really want to extend their advantage now. You know, it's not about just sitting on this 5k gold lead. And the way that they do that is by pushing up vision. You get vision in your opponent's jungle. You move around the map and you start farming both sides. If you can actually accomplish that, if you can start to shut Akaadian out of his own jungle and really just extend the farm lead, there's, oh my god, that damage.
Just like that. There we go. Rengar and Bard team up. The unlikely duo able to slay the very squishy Elise.
Yeah, I mean, Dardoch is just so strong right now. With the early lethality and the completed warrior, he still has his ultimate available here, and they could be looking for Froggen. We'll see if they go for this play. Aphro has the ulti.
It's like the true support didn't even hit those CSs that are under the turret.
Huhi zoned himself out, had to cancel his own wall.
He may be caught out now, though. He's down to Dardoch as he's continuing to pick up stacks of that passive. And creeping death, Darshan. He'll lock up Froggen and try and knock him back into the brambles, but not quite there. But still, doesn't matter. Aphro disables the tower. Dardoch picks up the double kill. A trade goes over as Bard will fall, but Keith's gonna die to Huhi. So well played by CLG.
Yeah, Darshan almost setting up that alley-oop. Not quite able to get it, but they get 3 kills there. They're gonna knock down another turret, and Echo Fox are not putting up much of a resistance here. Looper, no reason for him to base because he can't do anything about it, so he's gonna try to get some damage down on this side lane turret and may be able to knock that down, but it's a very small victory compared to what CLG is getting. This lead is just insane.
Yep, continuing to be extended, which is exactly what we wanted to see from CLG. Looper will take this turret. Gold lead stands at 6,000 up still for CLG. And Dardoch has
big Bard portal.
Duskblade. That is. Aphromoo definitely knowing the little meticulous things about the champion, but Looper should be safe at this time around. Going to steal that blast coat. Nope, just chills out as we watch this again. I mean, Akaadian just face checks here in the wrong time.
And Huhi comes surfing in with the wall, unfortunately locks himself out of it, and is having to cancel it to go over. But I mean, CLG is so strong, you can just force plays, right? You can constantly looks pretty.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's true. That's what happened.
You can constantly force these plays on your opponent because as long as it's an even fight, there's nothing they can really do. And almost getting that max range ultimate if he aimed it a little bit back towards the turret, I probably would have gotten that extra route, but it didn't really matter. Very nice flank from Darshan, who's been playing so well this series. I mean, his TP on the bot side and the ultimate is really what blew this game wide open. Was able to kind of extend that massive advantage for CLG, and now they are taking full control over the jungle. Pink ward's over on this side. Echo Fox has snuck up here, though, and Stixxay could get surprised. I mean, he's not going to be thinking 2 men are in this bush when they have that much control and just took away the blue buff.
Plays with respect, though, as CLG actually backing off towards the Rift Herald. Should be uncontested at this point, given that Echo Fox is still so far behind.
Look where Darshan is. He's actually like setting up for a flank, but his team is on the Rift Herald. He's actually using the bush with the saplings. If someone face checks him there, he could actually burst them down. And now looking for the pick onto Keith.
Keith has no flash, does have a heal, but there's the ulti back in, knocks him in, knock back. That is disgusting. Darshan taking down Keith.
Nice little flank there from Darshan. And now with the Rift Herald, honestly, and this big of a lead, you could look to crack the inhibitor with it, straight up. You could just walk up to an inhibitor and threaten to go for that. CLG may want to collect the easier gold and just grab it on the outside. Make sure that they're taking every guaranteed advantage before they take any risks. But, I mean, this gold lead is so enormous and they're so strong that they really could look to try to press and close this game out very, very quickly.
Well, from Stixxay again, moving through. Bard portal creates a ton of mobility for your team, so CLG's normally crispy rotations are going to feel that much faster in this particular game. And Dardoch is also insanely strong. He's just hanging out, hoping there isn't a ward in that brush. Unfortunately for him, there is, but CLG going to press through the jungle and try and pick somebody off.
I mean, this is an opportunity for Echofox, though, right? If you have them on a ward and they do not know, you can go for a play, and we're going to see Akaadian look for that over the wall. We'll see if they can make anything happen.
Kench roaming in, Lupo ready with the big... No! Doesn't get Aphromoo, but he will get Dardoch. Dardoch able to get shut down by the Tahm. Kench, nice little play from Echofox.
Yeah, good play from them there. They realize they have Dardoch on a ward. He does not know about it, so... You know, yes, it's a pretty big commitment. It's a couple ultimates coming in, but that's what you need to do. You need to get picks like that delay the game, that allow you to farm up and control your side of the map.
Well, could maybe blame Dardoch for trinketing, but he had a different trinket. A little Rift Tail trinket there, unfortunately not able to sweep that brush, so going to delay that play for a little while longer. So Drake though over to CLG, Ocean number 2. We'll go over to them and Echofox. They have to take gold where they can get it, but still in no position to really fight CLG straight up for a long time in this game, as Huhi might have found a catch. Loop are going to leap out of the way. Darshan was on another flank potential, but Loop able to get out safely back towards his team, and we'll see where CLG look to attack next. Remember, Rift Child still available for a couple of minutes, but will be running out relatively soon, I think.
Yeah, and that's really the question is where do they actually attack next, right? He has, you know, about a minute 45, something like that on the Rift Herald, so still a fair bit of time. They could look for that play where you drop it in one lane and then pressure Baron as it spawns, because they're enough ahead for that. They also could just use it to secure some of the outer turrets, pick up some more guaranteed global gold. So there certainly are a lot of options. It just kind of depends what they want to go for as far as risk versus reward, because they don't have to take any risky options. But certainly can look to do so and close out the game if they're feeling confident.
I actually just remembered how Dustblade passive works. So I must have been on cooldown then in that brush. Okay,
yep.
Well that's the other thing. He's probably thinking to himself, oh, I'm totally safe here, but Dustblade's on cooldown, unfortunately for you. Not going to spot that ward, but that is definitely one of the elements of Dustblade that I think we don't talk about that much, but is insanely powerful.
Yeah, it really is. For those who may not know, it's actually essentially the old Oracle's Elixir, which will proc the sweeper when you do actually step on a ward, so you know if you have been spotted, and then you can actually clear those wards out. It's very powerful for these assassins because you can simply move through it. If you never see it proc, you know you never pass the ward, and you can look for these free ganks. That's one of the reasons I think it's even stronger on junglers, and so strong for vision control as well. And we may actually see this Baron play. Dardoch is over by the top side. He could drop that Rift Herald and then go straight to Baron, but not sure what they want to do with it just yet. I mean, they have to drop the Herald very soon, and they are standing by that Baron pit.
Yeah, kind of in position there in the Tribush before, but walking back towards Baron right now. Hope he hasn't forgotten about it. Looks like he's clearing a ward. Instead, Dustblade going to proc it.
Yeah,
sweep that one out.
I think that's what they're trying to set up. I mean, he just checked the Baron pit again. Yep. They're going to drop it, and they're going to go to Baron, I do believe. We'll see if they actually do decide to commit for that. They could just go straight for the turret as well and try to press very heavily. Hui's shoving in mid lane right now, and they knock down that last outer, and now pinging towards Baron. So the idea is you create all this additional pressure with the Rift Herald, and while they're answering it, you're actually killing Baron.
Yep, I've got Taliyah wall as well, so Hui's also able to cut off Fox as they come in to try and contest it here. A big wave building on the bot side. Darshan's going to go and catch it, and that seems to be delaying CLG, who will not rush onto the Baron.
Yeah, I guess they just decided they don't actually want to risk it, but they kind of lose the coin flip there because Echofox wasn't even moving towards the Baron. They weren't even looking to check it, and they actually had no blue trinket available. So Echofox wouldn't have really been able to do anything about that Baron had CLG started it immediately. But either way, they're going to send Darshan back. They don't want to risk any bad fight. And I mean, if you get aced in the Baron pit and they get Baron, then Echofox is back in the game. So it certainly makes sense. They want to go for a guaranteed pick or a straight up 5v5 where they know they will have a massive advantage.
Darshan just quickly reversing that bot side wave. Set a big wave building for CLG in the top half as Fox try and retake priority of the mid lane, but CLG still with so much control, and again, Fox is so far behind, they have to play reactively.
And you can see Dardoch just farming Akaadian's jungle, putting the priority on that. And if anyone actually checks through this, he could look for a play, and they're going for it now.
Oh my god, Akaadian blown up by the Rengar. Looper gonna get snared up as well as Dardoch leaps back in onto a mini. Now is so squishy as Stixxay looking for the tag, does not land it, hits Keith for the next few. Last bullet gonna go blind. Oh, she does get one.
And now they can definitely do the Baron. I mean, after the jungler just got one shot, Huhi actually chasing after Gate there. Gate's out, but the Baron's gone. And CLG, they get what they came for here. Dardoch just waiting, setting up a very nice pick in the jungle. They push out the wave. He farms the jungle. They know they have vision control. So Looper and Akaadian just kind of wandering through their jungle to actually respond to that wave. Get insta-killed there by Dardoch. who's now on 3 items.
Yep, double lethality, warrior, brown boots, because doesn't really need them. They don't do too much damage, so if they had lethality, he'd be equipping them instantly. But, I mean, Akaadian suffered before with a face check. This is just disgusting
That
damage.
is insane. That wasn't even the ultimate for the actual crit auto there. He just jumps straight out of the bush, then pops the ultimate afterwards. They can go straight back to the Baron. I mean, this is Akaadian on 1 item in pieces versus 3 completed items for Dardoch. So he is just hilariously ahead. And really, that's the story across the board. You see Keith working towards a Rage Blade, while Stixxay already has 2 items and is closing in on the IE. Everyone on CLG is just so much stronger that this game could be closed out probably even faster than the last one, which was 28 minutes.
And the next Drake is Infernal. It looks like the play's set up. Oll's going to miss that from Aphromoo, but he's going to keep moving in. Dardoch looking for a pick. Stone's not going to latch there off the gate, but Dardoch just leaps on as a good devour from Gate's going to protect his carry. Looper takes out Aphromoo, but Dardoch annihilates the Gnar. And now the ulti from Maokai is going to find Gate. Rooted up by Stixxay as the play continues. Tower dive now imminent as CLG look to try and get a few more kills. Gate is low as Darshan's tanking that turret. But Fox are just running back the wrong way.
I mean, what else can they do? They just have to retreat here, but Akaadian could sneak up on Stixxay from behind with the Elise. We'll see if he can actually catch him.
He actually dodges out of Cocoon. Stixxay with a really nice play as he puts the trap back down, but he's cut off. Dardoch able to get keep up. Froggen, I believe, yes, did pick up the kill on the Stixxay. Huhi, though, cleans up the rest of the fight, and CLG just too far ahead as Huhi rides the wall to cut off Akaadian, who's going to flash out and try and buy a little bit more time. Dardoch taking the top for as long as he can, but those last few shots, able to get it. Huhi grabbing the ace for CLG.
5 for 3 there for CLG as they pick up the ace. Pretty sloppy dive and engage, honestly, by them, but they're so far ahead, it does not matter. They're able to execute anyway. They get the last outer turret here, and they are so strong. Echo Fox doing the best with what they have.
Yep,
though.
and credit to them certainly for fighting here, but CLG going to grab this Infernal. They're 10,000 gold ahead, and unfortunately, Baron's going to wear off pretty much, and they also lost it on 3, so that push itself will kind of die down, but CLG far enough ahead, they should be able to just brute force down these inhibs.
And they do have enough time to actually go for one more push on the Baron. About 1/3 of that buff remains on both Huhi and Dardoch, so they can go back, they can buy, they can go once again here in Aphro with less than ideal engage. Whip on the Bardolt, portals in, looks for the flash route, does not get that either, but they're so strong, forced to play anyway. Looper just getting focused down, dies almost instantly, and then Darshan, another good ultimate here, wrapping up multiple people. But Echo Fox did a really good job kiting back through the turret, playing this kind of split game, and CLG takes so much damage from the turret, and then Stixxay setting up the ultimate, he's getting flanked by Akaadian, so they're able to at least trade back some kills, and I think that Echo Fox played it very, very well to at least get that.
Well, play extends. CLG eventually able to clean it all up.
Yeah.
Like you said, very sloppy there from CLG, but
they got it. I mean,
yep.
they get the kills, and it does end up working out. And they're confident enough that they can force these kind of plays because of their gold lead. It's not a play that you would, I think, see them committing to in a normal game. After the Bard ultimate misses, generally you'll just back off. But in this case, they felt strong enough that they can just make it happen anyway. So now, setting up 1-3-1, looking to push in the side lanes, and then perhaps just group 5 middle and actually force that down, or see kind of where the chink in the armor is for Echo Fox.
Well, looks like everything being set up once more. Baron has dropped off, but not a huge loss there for CLG, who have more than enough items to try and close out this game. Stixxay did finish his IE. Dardoch has a BF sword, probably going into a GA, so full damage Assassin Rengar is arrived, actually. I was going to say incoming, but certainly already here when you look at how squishy a lot of the members of Echo Fox are. Even Looper in mini form is prey for this Rengar.
Yeah, I mean, Looper did not go for a Frozen Mallet, which I think is pretty intelligent. He's trying to just get up his tanky stats as fast as possible. Akaadian as well, bailing out on a damage build, going for the locket. Like, these are smart choices, but they're just so behind in gold that it doesn't really matter unless they can kind of hold for a long time. And Darshan now starts up the ultimate, zoning them off the turret.
I love this combo.
They're just going to knock down the turret.
Well, it looks like double root actually going to land in. Turret should fall. Great shot back there onto Akaadian by Huhi, but turret is going to go down. Froggen with the short range. Corki can't get in. And Dardoch leaps in to try and get a kill. Good devour there from Gate as Keith is forced to flash. Stixxay cover fire there with the ultimate. Almost takes down Gate with that last crit bullet, but damage is done. Inhib goes down. Yeah,
really well done there from CLG. Dardoch and Darshan easily able to kind of just run in, use that Maokai ultimate to actually zone them off the turret. Very, very powerful as a sieging tool. Knock down the second inhibitor turret, and they can even continue to fight if they want.
They're going for it. Looper actually locked up. Oh, that's Darshan going golden. alongside Looper. Latch isn't going to quite land, but the shove is good from Huhi, but not enough damage to actually kill Looper. Fox still 5 alive as they look to defend, but Darshan leaps in onto Froggen, roots him up. The W is going to connect as Gate goes down to Dardoch. Aphromoo with yet another kill, his 4th of this game, and Keith and Akaadian too low to defend top and hit falls as well.
Minions are going to be pushing in mid. They can continue to shove this up. Super Minion has arrived, and I think CLG looking for another sub-30 win here, and looking to make it 2-0 over Equifox.
Yep, Stixxay just reloading, going to start shooting down these turrets. Left one falls. And Looper going mega might need to make a heroic ultimate here. Look to save it up, but he's just getting locked up. Dardoch just assassinates Keith as he dives into the backline. Gets a double kill as he slays Gnar, just so strong on this Rengar. And the Nexus open. CLG will take it in barely under 30 minutes. The speedrun is complete. CLG with the sweep.
Yeah, less than an hour of total gameplay to win this series for CLG. They made it look very easy. This one even more dominant than game number 1. A lot of credit deserved, I think, by the whole CLG squad, but Darshan, I think, played exceptionally well in both games. First game, surviving all the pressure, being able to absorb that and still have success later in the game. And in this game, it was his TP bot lane that really did turn the tide. The 4-man Maokai ultimate, wrapping them up and getting them a near ace very early on in the game.
Just going to have a look in as the teams are going to shake hands. So much work being done in general by CLG this game, and I think still very early to chart exactly how this will fall out, but early impressions seem to be that Maokai is looking good. I do not think he has lost a game yet this weekend.
Yeah, Maokai is really good, I would certainly say. I think that Equifox, maybe back to drawing board a little bit for them. This is, I believe, their 4th straight series loss in a row. They are definitely struggling and are facing that prospect of the promo relegation tournament once again.
Yep, certainly a rough outlook there for Equifox, but CLG again trying to break. Still the 3-way tie there in the top of the standings. Have a very tough match tomorrow against Immortals, which will kind of really break that tie open, but winning here certainly keeps them ahead. And if Immortals slip up, or TSM slip up as well, they are playing Dig today.
Yeah, and I mean, TSM playing Dignitas on the other stream right now, so you know, the result of that series could actually push them right into first place, right? If TSM loses, CLG does get a game up on them, because those 3 teams are all sitting at 9-3 right now.
We'll have a look at some of the moments in that game. You mentioned already Darshan's TP leading into a very effective looking ulti. We'll replay that ace in the bot lane in just a moment. Here we go. Oh, it's this way instead.
And I mean, this is CLG just kind of looking to really force down and close out this game. They're so far ahead. Aphro whipping the ulti, whipping the bard stun, but it just really doesn't matter. You can see how quickly Dardoch and Stixxay actually shred through that top lane tank on the Gnar, and they're able to just essentially dive behind multiple turrets because they are so far ahead. They know they can go for these sorts of plays, and this did allow them to eventually chase down a couple kills and really look to close out the game quickly.
Ah, yes. Now I remember this play.
Yeah. I mean, this is what... That's a really nice repel actually from Akaadian, by the way.
Stixxay flashed in as well. I was like, I'm going, no.
Yeah. A little bit of an oopsie, but I mean, this is the kind of series that CLG wanted, right? They wanted to actually not just win this series, they wanted to dominate this series. They're competing for the top spot. This is a team that you should, by the end of the split, be able to dominate, right? Like, we're not in the early stages. This is getting towards your playoff form, and you need to be able to crush the bottom tier teams if you want to be a legitimate championship threat, right?
Yeah, and I think across the board, just a really good performance there from CLG. But for more on that 2-0 victory, let's check in with Digon and CLG's jungler.
Thank you very much, Pastry. Great cast on the day. I'm joined by Dardoch. Now tell me, you guys just took down Equifox, who has a 10-man roster themselves. What's it been like going from the young gun, the ace, now to being kind of a mentor for your substitute?
It was a bit of a shock at first, because I wasn't used to watching others, like watching someone play with my team in place of me. But I just had to take it in stride with the right mentality, and I'm just trying to improve as much as I can, as well as helping him improve.
So a good way to improve is to be on top of this new patch. There's a lot of crazy things here. Tanks, assassins. What is your take on the jungle in this new 7.14 patch?
Overall, there's a lot of not a lot of variety. You either pick Cho'Gath or Maokai, or if they're banned, you pick. Then it opens up. Like, you can pick things like Rengar, Elise. You can play Kayn. Kha'Zix is pretty good. I even got Elise in a few times. But just in general, I think the tanks are a bit overtuned and they're a bit too easy to play. So I don't like that much. But if it lets me play Rengar, why not?
Well, looking a little bit further ahead, you got your game against Immortals. There's a top 3 cluster there. How do you expect to break through that with TSM and Immortals, starting with Immortals next tomorrow?
We're just going to beat them.
Well, how are you going to beat them? Don't give me just that. Come on, give a little bit more.
Well, my view is that they're Immortals and TSM are very strong teams, but I just think we're better. We're just going to beat them because we're the better team.
All right, so strong words come from you. Thank you very much, Dardoch. We're going to send it on over to Dash and the analyst desk without a desk for more information.
We agreed on the dojo. Still without a desk, Degon. All right, yeah, the dojo. I really like that. That was thought up while I wasn't here, but I will use it. CLG, man. Oh, yeah. 2-0 victory. Easy peasy. I mean, you heard Dardoch there. He's confident about their games against Immortals and TSM still to come. And here they are, you know, putting their money where their mouth is in terms of closing out a series very quickly against Echo Fox.
Right. I mean, he has a reason to be confident. I think that they showed that they understand the new meta. If you're watching some of the other teams and streams that have been going on this weekend so far, some people are still on the back foot, picking things that were really strong in 7-13, not necessarily completely understanding how to use the stuff on 7-14. And here we see the Rengar and the Maokai comboing together to make, some room for the Rengar, who's pretty snowbally and a little weak early game, to have some front line to protect it.
And this isn't surprising, though, coming from CLG. This is an organization that in the past has been one of the quicker to adapt to metas, as well as come up with very interesting level 1s, uses for champions as they find their way into the meta. And I do like that we got 2 different looks today. We had the tank jungler and the aggressive Rengar jungler out of Dardoch. So again, CLG saying, we recognize that lethality can be strong. We recognize that tanks can be strong. Let's find a way to make them both useful.
I was actually surprised in game 1 when they had the Maokai in the jungle. We didn't see one of those crazy start with your saplings on the other side of the map and get an extra camp leashed from your bot lane. That was something that we saw in Europe a little bit.
Pretty cheeky.
Yeah, it's pretty cheeky. And like you said, it's something that CLG being very innovative often with their level 1s and their champions. You would have thought they would have picked it up, but who knows? I mean, it's still pretty good to see them already flexing the Maokai between the top 2. They were doing it a lot earlier in the season with the Gragas pick, and Maokai currently is just an improved tank to do it with.
Now, again, because this game was so dominant and so dominant from so early, there's only so much we can analyze. You know, from a gameplay perspective, the one clip we want to bring up is 10-10 into the game. CLG picks up a 4-0 in the bot lane. This is after that weird first blood handed over by Looper off of the invade for the ward, but essentially so much gold going into the coffers of CLG as a result of this play gives them all of the control they need for the remainder of the game.
Yep, and you see this, they had that little buffer in the early game. They hadn't been able to make a big play yet, but here Darshan comes in with his TP flank, drops the ultimate down their escape path.
Such a pretty ultimate.
They want to get out to the left. They can't. It's all blocked up lanes. The 3-man route buys enough time for Dardoch to get close to the fight. Also gets the 3-man punch back with the Q, and then Dardoch finally, when that exhaust wears off, jumps in, starts cleaning up the kills, and then it's kind of off to the races for Rengar. He gets the double. And you give him a double kill, that cat's going to kill a lot of people.
Right, more and more we're seeing the power of that Maokai pick, right? Off of TPs, his ability to flank position, lock down targets, and make sure that they get zeroed out to give his team advantages. Darshan playing very well throughout this game, going to pick up player of the game for his team. So again, the series for him today, massive.
Yeah, he had both player of the games. Obviously, 2 different looks a little bit with the Jarvan in the last game. A little bit more aggressive, bully-oriented, built some damage. This time on the Maokai, they flex it to him. He's able to execute on it. And while, you know, Dardoch has a monster performance as well, it is off the back of that huge replay that we just showed. And then any Rengar that gets those kind of advantages in the early game is going to be able to start popping off. And he had a great game out of Dardoch as well, but Darshan was the big setup.
Yeah, I mean, Darshan's scoreline looks great, but something we didn't get to break down game 1 of the series, but something that we had talked about very early on in that game 1. Credit to Darshan for recognizing up against a Rumble, a Sejuani, and even a Taliyah. So triple magic damage on the top side of the map from Echo Fox. He backed first item Negatron Cloak and a Rejuve beat on Jarvan. That's very abnormal in terms of the standard Jarvan build, but recognizing that the only damage that's going to come his way is magic, he built himself a very safe top lane.
Very safe top lane, obviously with the Taliyah as well. You know she's going to try and roam into the side lanes. You're pretty likely to receive some jungler attention as well. So really smart pickup knowing that he's itemizing against the 3 threats that are going to be coming after him, able to survive that, and then after that had a great performance that
Intelligent play from top-tier players. Last thing I want to discuss is that remaining, schedule for CLG as we talk about the mix at the top. They've got Immortals tomorrow. The following week, P1 and Envy, and then the final week, Dignitas and TSM. So not the easiest of schedules, considering they have to play both of the teams they're tied with currently and a Dignitas that is surging.
It's going to be difficult, but I think it's something that can be a huge benefit for your team. If you end the regular season destroying the other top teams, it gives you a lot of confidence going into playoffs, and they look really, really good. We've seen some of these other teams struggling a lot right now. We have not yet seen Immortals on 7-14, but I think it's fair to say, no spoilers for the other stream,
right.
But well, one of the top teams is struggling a little bit. So they will probably want to step it up.
Yeah, you can hop on over there and check that one. Now, I lied. I actually have one more thing I want to talk about, and this is an Echo Fox point. This roster, Pastry brought it up going into the game as they made, 3 swaps here into game 2. He takes issue with the way in which they are, choosing to sub out people, in that they have too many variables. How could you ever determine who is and isn't working and in what iterations if you're making this many changes, on top of the fact that you're making these changes still in week 7?
That's the big thing, is the records are so different between your original starting 5 and your backups. I think it's 10 and 11 with your starters and 2 and 9
with all other iterations of the roster.
Iterations. It's the same thing we were saying last night with Team Liquid, where at a certain point, it's clear who your best team is. And I don't fault them for losing a series in week 2 where they subbed out Akaadian early on and brought in Grignay and those kinds of things. But at this point, you know who is your best roster. You're changing these things around, and it's getting to the point where you just have to look at it and say, like, what are you trying to get out of this? Are you trying to get them experience in week 7 when you're trying to avoid promo tourney? I'm not sure.
And that's the thing, right? It has to come down to a discussion around whether or not Echo Fox feels they legitimately have a chance to make playoffs, in which case they should be fielding their best roster, and or they've kind of succumbed to the idea that, fine, we're not making the playoff picture, let's utilize the rest of the split to get these guys playoff time or play time while avoiding relegation. Who's to say? We can only speculate. That's going to wrap up the first series, but we've got more games coming your way. Up next, Phoenix 1 take to the Battle Theatre versus Team Liquid. Don't touch that browser. You're watching the North American LCS.